Imagine being born into a world where your very existence is treated like a spectacle, not because of your personality or your intellect, but because of your body. Imagine being 6 years old and already turned into a court jester, not for your wit, but for your weight. You are not a child. You are a living exhibit. This is not fiction. This was the life of Eugenia Martínez Vallejo, called the monster of the Spanish court. But behind this grotesque nickname lies something far more tragic, a tale of exploitation, suffering, and forgotten humanity. Eugenia Martínez Vallejo was born in 1674 in the city of Burgos, Spain. From the moment she entered the world, her body challenged expectations. At birth, she appeared normal, but within a year, her weight had ballooned rapidly and inexplicably. By the age of 6, Eugenia weighed over 70 kilograms, around 155 pounds, a staggering figure for a child in the 17th century. Her condition baffled her family and the local physicians. No one could explain what was happening to her. Today, many experts believe Eugenia may have suffered from a rare condition like Prader-Willi syndrome or some form of hypothalamic dysfunction, illnesses we now understand as affecting metabolism and hunger cues. But in the 1600s, science was ruled by superstition and spectacle, and Eugenia's body became a curiosity. Word of this extraordinary child reached the Spanish royal court under King Charles II. This was a monarch whose court was fascinated by what they called monstrous figures, people whose physical appearances deviated from the norm. Dwarfs, giants, those with deformities. They were collected by kings like trinkets, invited to entertain the court, and even appear in royal portraits. For them, difference was amusement. Eugenia was summoned to the palace at the age of 6, but she wasn't taken there for treatment or understanding. She was taken there to be put on display. She was dressed in tight-fitting clothes, accentuating her size, and paraded before the nobility. The court painters captured her in 2 infamous portraits, one dressed elaborately and the other naked. These weren't gentle works of art. They were meant to shock, to amuse, to provoke laughter and awe. Eugenia's very body was used to mock nature itself. One of these portraits was painted by Juan Carreno de Miranda, a prominent artist of the Spanish Baroque period. The paintings titled La Monstrua, the Monster, still hang today in the Prado Museum in Madrid. But behind the brushstrokes lies something grotesque, a child made to stand naked, vulnerable, while men of power turned her into a symbol of freakishness. These paintings were not acts of respect. They were exhibitions of cruelty. But Eugenia wasn't just a passive victim. Historical records, though scarce, suggest that she was intelligent, self-aware, and possibly spirited. Yet none of that mattered in a world obsessed with her appearance. She lived her short life inside a palace that treated her like an oddity, not a person. There's no record of Eugenia being given medical help or psychological support. There was no concern for her emotional well-being. Only fascination, only mockery. She died young. Historians estimate she passed away around age 25. And yet, even in death, her story was told not as one of a human being who struggled with a debilitating condition, but as that of a monster who amused the court. Even the cause of her death remains unrecorded, possibly forgotten, because in the eyes of history, she wasn't important enough to remember properly. But what does that say about us, about how society treats those who are different? Centuries later, Eugenia's story forces us to reflect on the cruelty we inflict on people under the guise of curiosity. We often think we've evolved past the barbarism of 17th century courts. But even now, people with rare diseases or unique appearances can find themselves objectified, turned into viral videos, internet memes, or medical case studies stripped of empathy. Eugenia Martínez Vallejo's life was a tragedy of misunderstanding and exploitation, but it's also a reminder that behind every label, every name like monster, freak, or abnormal is a human being. A child. Someone who once laughed, cried, dreamed. Someone who deserved dignity. History is filled with forgotten lives. People like Eugenia whose stories were buried under shame and spectacle. If this story moved you, don't let it fade again. Share it. Talk about it. Let her be remembered not as a monster, but as a girl who was failed by the world. Subscribe for more stories that history tried to erase. And together, let's bring the lost voices back to life.